Hey guys, in today's video, I want to look back at each NBA season in the 2010s and find who the most irrelevant team of the decade was. If you guys enjoy this video, then please leave a like. If this video gets 100 likes, I will make more videos like this. Also, I must say, this is probably the most interesting video on my channel, so be sure to watch till the end. Before we start, I just want to say I'm basing this list off how a team has done financially, the number of playoff appearances, the number of All-Stars, jersey sales, and any other thing that would make a team relevant. Alright, so let's look at all 30 teams in the NBA. Before I tell you who my top 3 candidates are, I want to show you how I got there and why certain teams were considered relevant or irrelevant. And with that, let's look at a list of all 30 NBA teams and work our way down to the most irrelevant team. First, I want to cross out the Knicks, Celtics, Bulls, Warriors, and Lakers because they're the 5 most valuable franchises, and the next franchise value is down by a margin of $500 million. So these teams just couldn't be irrelevant. Next, I want to cross out all teams that have had multiple playoff appearances and maybe even success. This includes the Clippers, Rockets, Mavericks, Raptors, Heat, Trailblazers, Spurs, Nuggets, Bucks, Thunder, Jazz, Pacers, Hawks, Cavs, and Grizzlies. These are all the teams that have had many good seasons in the 2010s, so they couldn't be considered irrelevant. Alright, now we are down to 12 teams that were all considered less relevant during the decade. However, because we will have to cut it down to 3 teams, we're going to have to make some more cuts. So first, I want to cut out the Nets, 76ers, and Wizards just because they have had a solid value and number of playoff appearances in this decade. Then I want to cut out the Jazz and Magic just because they haven't been that bad, both having a few playoff appearances in the decade. And that brings us to the final 6 teams. So at this point, all these teams were extremely irrelevant, so don't get mad if you think someone else should have gotten first, because they all suck, don't even worry. However, because I want to make this video longer and obviously more interesting, we're still going to find who the most irrelevant team of the decade was. Also, because we have such a small sample size now, from this point on, I'd like to go into a more in-depth analysis whenever I cut out a team. And with that, the first team I would like to cut out of the top 6 is the New Orleans Pelicans, just because they have had multiple All-Stars in the decade. This includes Chris Paul 2 times, Anthony Davis 6 times, and DeMarcus Cousins once. Then, a team in a very similar situation is the Minnesota Timberwolves. Don't get me wrong, they only made the playoffs once and they aren't really a valuable franchise, but they have had 6 All-Stars in the decade, so I feel like you couldn't call them that irrelevant. That's why I'm cutting the Timberwolves from this group. Now we're in the top 4. So these are the teams that have been really irrelevant for the entire decade. Now, the first cut I'm going to make in this section is the Hornets, just because they have had a few playoff appearances in the decade. Therefore, they are more relevant than the other teams, therefore they are getting cut. Okay. Let me just say, this is the hardest part of the video. If I'm being honest, I really don't know what to do here. The Pistons have had 2 playoff appearances, they got swept in both, and 3 total All-Stars in the decade. The Suns made it to the conference finals in the first year of the decade, but have been trash ever since and only have had 3 total All-Stars. Then the Kings haven't had 1 playoff appearance in the decade, but they are the most valuable of the 3, and they also have 3 total All-Stars. Basically, every team puts in a good case for being most irrelevant. However, I feel like of the three, the Detroit Pistons have been the most irrelevant of the decade. The main reason that supports my final decision is the fact that the Detroit Pistons are the least valuable of the three. On the other hand, you could really say any of these teams are the most irrelevant. Matter of fact, I'm actually starting a comment down below asking who you think is the most irrelevant team. If you'd like to, you can reply to that comment and tell me. I'd actually really like to know what you guys think, so please comment down below. Alright guys, that just about wraps it up. If you enjoyed the video, then please leave a like. Also, I'm trying to get to 300 subscribers, so please subscribe. Alright, that's it. Cue the outro.